Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. Limitless listeners, thanks for dialing in your radio, your iPhone, your iPad, your YouTube channel, whatever platform you're listening to this episode on. Again, thanks for joining in. And in that thankfulness process, is that even like proper English, the thankfulness process? Maybe that's the limitless thankfulness process. Maybe I need to write a book on that. Ooh, speaking of books, is Limitless writing a book? That's another topic in itself. But let's get into some sponsorships. So, giving thanks to you guys for listening to the show, subscribing to the show, rating the show, following the show, sharing the shows with other people, helping me advertise the show. All these have hints like exclamation points after each topic, each item. I'm going to rattle off the 6 major and only sponsors that the show is offering you as a listener. And I state this every time I review the sponsors for the Limitless Podcast. There is no kickback to me as the host, the owner, the founder, the CEO, the president, whatever title you want to throw in my direction. There's no kickback to me. This show is funded out of my shallow pocket, but I want to give back to you as a listener. So these 6 companies, they're companies that I believe in. They're products that I use. They're relationships that I have developed, some of them on a very personal level. Excuse me. So first, and I'm drinking it right now. Oh my gosh, I'm wearing the shirt. Drink coffee, shoot deer with Hunting Day Coffee. Be Limitless 10 will get you 10% off any order on the Hunting Day Coffee website. Phelps Game Calls. It's becoming that time of year. If you don't have a Phelps game call in your pocket right now, and you're not practicing said game call, whether it's for elk or deer, you're way behind the power curve. Be Limitless 20 will get you 20% off one order, not one item, one order. So spend that code wisely. I don't know if that's going to change in the future. Right now, my agreement with Phelps Game Calls is my listeners get a one-time 20% code on their website. So hop on there now. We're still, elk season's going to start. It's August right now. It's going to start in some states this month for that early kickoff. But next month for sure, typically like September 1st is elk season. So if you need a bugle tube, if you need diaphragms, if you need a reed call, if you need a little pouch to carry those diaphragms, you need to reach out to Phelps Game Calls and capitalize on that Be Limitless 20 discount code for you. On Point Adventure Foods. That's Be Limitless 10 for a 10% discount on all of your orders at On Point Adventure Foods. Based out of PA, they are my favorite freeze-dried backcountry food source to date, and I've been eating this stuff for a long, long time. Please go check them out. They will customize your meals. You can send them a canister of protein, or I sent them collagen peptides, and they're adding a scoop to the amount that I want in every single meal, and then they're going to ship me my stuff for this upcoming season. On Point Adventure Foods, Be Limitless 10% off. Vortex Optics. This is a big one. Vortex does not deal directly with the consumer. So your discount code will be used at eurooptics.com. I have had nothing but great experience with Euro Optics, and I've been dealing with them for over 3 years now. 25% discount on any Vortex item that you order through eurooptics.com. That code is VTXLMTLS25. The Love Sauce, a fellow retired sailor, has a boutique love sauce company that was started and founded by his late brother. Be Limitless 10 will provide you with a 10% discount on any $12 order or greater. They're great hot sauces. They're spicy, but they're really, really good. Go check them out and give them a try. And then last but not least is Wilderness Athlete. And I think we're going to talk about that a little more in depth in this episode, potentially. But Be Limitless 20 will get you a 20% discount on any order at Wilderness Athlete's website on their products. Now, they deal with some other companies when it comes to what they call their edibles page, meaning their snacks and their freeze-dried meals and such. You're not going to get a 20% discount on Heather's Choice because they are a rep or vendor for Heather's Choice. But any of the Wilderness Athletes product, 20% off with Be Limitless 20. So again, those codes are purely for your benefit. Use them, please. But again, there's no kickback to me. So I just keep paying out of pocket for pushing this show forward and content for you guys. So what is today's content on? Enough rambling about the show itself. Today, again, I started the Limitless podcast on the premise that we would not continuously talk about hunting, archery hunting, and backcountry hunting, and tree saddle hunting, or a combination of all of the above. Now, obviously, that's going to be a popular topic here, but I wanted to encompass everything about living that limitless lifestyle. And for those that know me, I like to run, and I have not signed up for a big race for a couple of years. I've been giving my stump a break, but I was deep into the ultra scene for several years. It is where I met my wife. And a growing friendship and contact of mine, Jarrod Combs, who lives in Ohio. He is the lead archery tech for a local state outdoor chain called Thin Feather Fur Outfitters. Again, they're Ohio based. He and I met through Chris Ham, and he recently completed his first 50K ultra marathon. And I'm really excited to sit here on the show today with him and talk about his experience and his training cycle and the supplements that he used and everything encompassing that 50K ultra and the feeling he experienced when he crossed that finish line. And then we're probably going to talk about hunting. So without any further ado, I'm staring at this guy's face right now. And if you're on YouTube, you're probably thinking, Aaron, stop talking and let this Captain Morgan looking dude start taking over the airways. So Jerrod, it's all yours, man. Take it away, please.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're about a little over a week after the ultra marathon, and I think my legs are finally no longer sore from it. Just did a little 4.5 mile run this morning, and my legs felt like I finally had a little bit of spring in my step finally. So feels good. Happy to. I mean, it was a fun experience, and we'll get into all of that, but definitely enjoyed it. The majority of it was pretty fun. Learned a lot though, definitely.
So how long have you been running?
So I guess I first started running when I was in the army, and I that was back in 2012 when I joined. Before that, I was a football player. Played all from, I mean, from second grade on up until college. I was a football player. And if you know many football players, they don't like to do long distance runs. It's sprint for 30 seconds at the most, and then you're done, go back and reset. So long distance running didn't happen until 2012 in the Army. And that's when I kind of really found out how enjoyable it could be.
Where did you play college ball and what position?
So I was a tight end. and I played at a smaller Division III school, Walsh University. They're in North Canton, Ohio.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So what kind of distance did you run in the Army?
Well, that would vary. I mean, getting into like basic training, I mean, our runs were anywhere from 2 miles to 5 miles, and then we would do the ruck marches, and I couldn't tell you how far we would go. It felt like forever, but it was probably all of 8, 9, 10 miles maybe. But then once I got into my actual career and everything, they actually started putting me in charge of some of the PT sessions for our guys. And I would take them out on the ones that could handle it. I would take them and bring them out for anywhere from 10 to 12 miles. And during air assault school, we had a 12-mile ruck run. Some people just walked it, but I decided to actually run the 12 miles. And I finished second to another guy, but my time was 2 hours and 5 minutes for that 12 miles with I want to say it was a 40-pound pack and your weapon. So made pretty good time on that. And I thought to myself, maybe I might have something going here where I'm decent at running. And I'm still not built for running. I'm still around 6 foot, 205, 210 pounds. I'm not a runner shape, but I still enjoy it a lot.
When did you start running outside of military service? When you were on active service,
Mm-hmm.
did you sign up for any type of local fun runs or any type of like known half marathons or anything like that?
Not at all. The only fun run I ever did was while we were deployed in Afghanistan. There was a Army birthday 10 miler, and we were just coming off of mission. We had a mission overnight and it started in the morning. So we literally got changed out of our kit into our PT shorts and ran out there to do a 10 miler. That was the only like organized run I had ever done in the military. I did
So
nothing outside of it. It was just me going out and putting my best Forrest Gump on, and that was my enjoyment. I didn't
that's
sign up for
awesome.
a thing.
Uh, Interesting fact. One of my deployments to Iraq spanned the Army 10 miler, and
Okay.
they solicited my EOD team to provide a detonation for their starting gun.
Oh, that's cool.
It was so we put together a small fuel bomb like it so
Nice.
a small detonation near their start line, and that's what we cranked off the Army 10 miler for, and that was
Oh,
in
that's cool.
2011. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Everybody knew about it beforehand, right? It wasn't just like random. Okay.
Right. No, it was advertised.
Okay.
It was FOB approved, and we did all the surveys for it, and everything
Gotcha.
was done correctly. And
That would have
it,
been pretty fun to just surprise them with that, though.
yeah, it
Some
would have
guys
been
would have had their best time,
yeah, that would have been a surprise visit in somebody's office for sure. So now that was not an option.
but they would have ran fast.
That's right. Yeah, that's great. So, what was your longest distance prior to entertaining your 50K ultra?
So I had done, I guess we kind of skipped a little bit of my post military service, but I had done a handful of half marathons and two marathons up until uh, a week ago.
Okay.
So I had done a decent bit of like organized runs after I had gotten out of the army. So that was just kind of the next step in my progression of seeing how far I could push my legs.
What marathons did you run?
I did the Columbus and then the Canton Hall of Fame marathon, both in Ohio.
Okay. Are
Yeah.
you looking at doing any other marathons?
I haven't actively looked, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. I think the right race is a really good time, and the majority of them they're organized in support of a really good charity. Like the one in Columbus was for the children's hospital down there. And dude, you want to talk about a tearjerker? Every single mile, there was a child there who was from the hospital fighting some sort of disease, and they were out there cheering you on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, okay, my legs hurt, but that child is 5, 6 years old fighting for his or her life. Like, there's no time to feel bad for yourself at that point.
That's incredible. Good for
Yeah.
you.
No, it just keeps everything in perspective too. I mean, as
Does
much
yeah.
as things can hurt, as sore as you might be, and you're breathing and sweating, just keep it in perspective and look at those kids.
That's awesome. So what spurred you on to run a 50K?
I needed a new challenge.
Okay.
I hadn't done a marathon in a little over a year, and this was I didn't even entertain it until probably April or May, like this spring. And I didn't really have anything I was working towards. I was still working out. I was still doing runs anywhere from 5 miles out to 15, 16 miles, but I didn't have anything that I was going to get ready for. So I just one day had the random thought, I'm turning 33 this year. I could run 33 miles. I looked and saw the when my birthday was on the calendar. I was like, well, I know I'll have that day off from work, so might as well use it to see how far I can run. And then from there, I just started training for it. So,
So your first 50K
mhm,
was a private, unsupported event just for you on.
correct.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
absolutely love it.
and I didn't really tell anybody about it leading up to it, other than my wife, obviously, just so that she knew where I was for 6 plus hours. But I didn't really tell anybody about it because I wanted it to be just a personal thing for me. And the cat got let out of the bag. We told a few people about it, but yeah, unless you were there at the park that I was running, you would have never had any idea. I didn't really tell anybody about it. I wasn't really advertising it or anything like that. We had mentioned it to just a handful of people and kind of kept it quiet because it was more just for me.
Nice. Was it a loop? Did you run laps?
Yeah, so it was at a park that had a couple different trail loops. So they would be anywhere from 1.7 to like 2.5 mile loops. And I would just basically run those loops in whatever configuration I felt like. And I did keep like my water, my food source at my truck where I would make the loop back around to, so that if I needed it, I would take a swig of water or have a protein or something, have one of those chewables. So that was kind of my game plan for that.
Very good. We've done some similar things in our ultra experiences or your ultra experience compared to mine. That's great. So what was your training plan? What your time frame? How many weeks did you train? And let's talk about kind of the methodology that you practiced.
So I got serious for it probably, I would say around June. I started getting pretty serious for it, which gave me about 2 months because birthday is at the end of July. So I started doing 3 to 4 runs per week, with one of them being I would say 12 to 16, 18 mile run, just depending on how I felt that day. But I made sure to at least get that long run in some capacity each week. And then the shorter runs, I would kind of split those up and either do interval sprinting or hill runs or something just to keep it interesting and keep mixing it up.
Okay. Did
A
you
lot of it was just based on how my legs felt that day compared to having a actual written set plan.
so you executed your own training plan?
Yep. Yeah. Which we will get into the race, I'm sure. Definitely could have prepped for it better, I think. But I
I
was
will
really just
You
Really
you
just trying to do it on my own.
you trained by feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it's I've had this conversation with my wife in the past when we would sign up for a race, or the last 2 years she'll sign up for a half marathon or something. And um my outlook on it is what you did was not training. You didn't train. You ran and prepared for a race. You didn't
Yeah.
have a set plan that you knew what you were doing this Monday compared to next Monday, or this week compared to next week. You didn't have all of your weeks planned out, and you could lean forward and look, okay, this is where I'm going. This is going to be my pace plan for next week. These are going to be my interval plan for next week. This will be my distance day, and this is the distance that I'm going to run. That's a training plan, right? And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with preparing by feel versus following a training plan, especially if you're
Hmm.
already an established runner. Now, again, this is just the opinion of Aaron Ritter and Limitless Outdoors. I would say if you're a novice runner, let's say maybe you've never even ran a 5K, and that's going to be a big deal. Maybe you've never ran at all. And so your first organized run is going to be a 5K, or that's your big goal. It's like, I want to go out and see if I can run a 5K. That's awesome. You might want to seek the advice of an experienced runner or an actual coach and have them provide you a training plan that will lead you up to successfully completing that 5K. Same thing can be said about any distance for a runner: 10K, half marathon, the full Mary, or breaking into the ultra world, which by definition, an ultra marathon is any distance longer than a noted marathon. So you could
Yep.
run zero point 0.1 miles further than a marathon. And by definition of the term, you are an ultra marathon runner. Now,
Yeah.
a lot of people might argue that. And I would probably say, at any given time on your Garmin watch or whatever, your smartwatch, whatever device you're using, your iPhone, whatever device you're using to track said distance, somebody could cross the finish line at the Marine Corps Marathon at 26.7 miles, and they're no longer a marathoner, they're an ultra marathoner, right?
Yeah.
But anyhow, I digress. That's kind of my outlook on it. I think it's really cool that you pursued that process. Now, again, for people that are listening, if you've never ran a long distance before, the wall is real. And
Yes.
if you've never experienced it, or if you're not prepared for it, there's a good chance that you'll fail in your endeavors. And that, again, that's where a good coach and or a good training plan can help you navigate that unknown. What was your goal? Because that's another key factor in whether you run for feel or by feel versus a legitimate training plan. What was your goal for said 50K?
So my goal was to complete it in under 6 hours. That
Okay, so
was that was my goal.
you did have a time restraint.
Yes. Yeah, I did have a goal in mind that I wanted to do. And the reason I went by feel instead of actually having a written sent out training plan was because I had done a complete like written workout schedule in preparation for my last marathon. And honestly, by the last month, I was totally just not with it. I was not feeling it anymore. I don't think it was the right training plan for me. So it didn't work out well. I ran well for the marathon, but I didn't enjoy the process leading up to it. And this time around, I wanted to actually enjoy the process leading up to it and have a good time getting ready for it rather than just trying to grind my way to the finish line.
And man, there is so much truth in the crossing the finish line, the race itself and crossing the finish line. That's a very insignificant part of the journey of a long distance race. The whole preparation process is really where the rubber meets the road. And again, I'm not saying that a an organized training plan is the definition of that or how to do it. But that's really where you're going to enjoy and or not enjoy the process and the journey. It will can also make you not successful if your training plan is so arduous or overbearing or unenjoyable. A lot of people will quit before they even start the race. The race is just it's the cherry on top, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's through that. I mean, if you're into ice cream, I'm not, but I'm going to use this analogy. Putting that cherry on top is really crossing the finish line of a marathon. The whole process is, hey, I'm gonna figure out what size bowl I want, and then I'm gonna choose what flavors of ice cream I want to be in there, and then I'm gonna choose the size of the scoop or this maybe I have three different flavors in there, and each scoop's going to be a different size or a different amount, and then I'm gonna start looking at all my different toppings, and I want to use this hot fudge is my first layer, and then I'm put a little caramel on my second layer, and then I'm going to go through with nuts and sprinkles or whipped cream or whatever else, and then blop, the cherry goes on top, right? That's the finish line. um whether you're doing it purely to check off the a bucket list item, or you just want to go finish one to say that you finished one, or you have it's going to be a new distance PR or personal best, or it's going to be a time um factored personal best. Maybe it's a location or an experience um adventure that you're seeking. Then I mean, all of those things come into play. And if you're not enjoying the process to get to the starting line, you have a really good chance of not actually getting there. A lot of people quit before they even get to the race, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So that's a big learning lesson as well.
And if you don't enjoy your workouts, if you don't have a good time with it, you're so much less likely to continue on. I'm 33. I've been working out since I was 13 years old, so around 2 decades now. I know what workouts I can do consistently and what type of workouts I'm going to be able to do a couple times or keep with it for a couple weeks, and it's going to burn me out and I'm not going to enjoy it and I'm not going to want to go back to it.
Yeah, I completely understand. Right on. So what was the base of your nutrition, fueling, and hydration process? Not during your preparation for the run, and then let's get into the run itself.
So really, I didn't prepare at all as far as like hydrating during my runs or anything. I would do my best to run with no water whatsoever. The only time I would run with any water with me or any type of recovery element afterwards is if I was doing a 15 plus mile run. And with that, it would just simply be a liquid IV pack or something like that with a 16-ounce bottle of water, and that was it. I really didn't do much as far as the nutrition side of it, which looking back, that's a big part of why I did struggle late in the run.
Mm.
I physically, mentally, I knew I could do it. Physically, my muscles and it was just I was so dehydrated after so many hours that my muscles were just starting to fail me. So that was definitely a learning experience in preparation. Do more to actually keep your body at the highest level rather than just go out there and if you feel good, keep grinding through it and go. I really definitely learned a lot about trying to keep the fuel in the machine going.
I have the outlook of if it's a 10K or less, I'm let in the heat of the summer and humidity, I might stash a water bottle or maybe throw on my hydration vest. But more often than not, if it's a 10K or less, I don't worry about fuel or hydration. I mean, that's a chip shot, really.
Yeah.
But when you start getting past that 10K mark, I mean, Jerrod, I love pushing my body. to the extremes. I do. I don't do it as much now as I used to, and I need to recenter that in my life. Um, but having that mind control over your body is very valuable, especially when we translate this into hunting
Mhm.
and the types of hunting, at least that I like to do, which is becoming more and more popular across the American Hunting Society. But it is, if you continue to hammer your body every single day, you're never giving it the true ability to recover and reach potential, right?
Yep.
Not that you were trying to set some type of a personal best or break a record or anything, but you're that's how people ultimately get injured. And what you did is, I mean, I like to do some of those similar things, but for that's not the average person either. That's how people also get hurt. So um, for people that are listening to our podcast, as you hear Jerrod and I rambling back and forth about his experience and things that I've experienced and things that we've done and ways that we've pushed our body. I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm not advocating that you do that because there is potential that you're going to hurt yourself, and I'm 100% not going to be responsible for that. And
Yeah.
there is a right way to do things, and then there's a hard way to do things, and the hard way is not typically the right way. So, with that out of the way, I do I do love the grind, and I do love seeing how far I can push my body by controlling the mental aspect of my experience. Um, when you prepared yourself that morning for your run, what did you do differently at that point than you had through your preparation process?
So the night prior, I made sure to definitely get a good meal in, lots of carbs, plenty of hydration throughout that day and the previous 2 or 3 days. Was very, very careful and very particular about my hydration. So I did do a little bit more the days leading up to it. And then the morning of, I just had a very normal routine to where I wake up and I will always work out in the morning as long as I can help it, unless we're doing some traveling or something. So I just woke up in the morning, had my pre-workout, and that kind of like it's got enough caffeine to get me going, but it doesn't get me overly jittery or anything like that. It's more of a mellow pre-workout. So I had that, uh, said goodbye to my wife and son, and then grabbed my stuff and hit the road out to the trail. Um,
Did you listen to music during your run?
I don't listen to music. I always just listen to podcasts.
Okay.
So I enjoy that. Just gets my brain uh, kind of focused on something else. I like to do that just to kind of separate myself from everything. If I listen to music, I'm going to find myself running at a higher or lower tempo than I should be. If I'm just listening to a podcast, I can control my running a little bit more because it's more just a conversation rather than a beat or a tempo that I'm running to.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So let's talk about your event itself. How did it
yeah,
feel when you started?
I felt so good when I started. I was really excited, pumped up. I mean, I was happy, I was ready to go. I felt really good. I was well rested, and I would say I had to control my pace just so that I didn't burn myself out too quickly. I knew the wall was going to come. I just wanted to try to prolong that as much as I could. So I would say the first hour and a half to 2 hours, I felt perfectly fine. And I was at a really, really good point. After 2 hours, I was right around that 12, 13 mile mark, which is right where I wanted to be because I knew I was going to be slowing up a pretty significant amount later on in the run. During that first, I would say that first third of it, if you will, I would stop every loop and hydrate. I was trying to hydrate early and often. And I think it was right about mile 13. I was back at the truck and I stopped for about maybe 5 minutes, sat down on the tailgate and got a snack. I got those Robert Irvine Crunch bars. Have you ever had those?
Mhm.
Oh, they're really good. I got two of those just in preparation for because I knew I was going to need calories, and I had one of those at that point, and then took off. Felt pretty good at that 2 mile mark. Um, right at that 2 mile mark, or sorry, 12 mile mark, 2 hour in, I was running on the trail, and the root monster got me good. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
So I was coming around. I had ran this particular loop a couple times already, and I knew where I needed to be careful, and I knew where it was just like smooth trail running. And I had gotten through this kind of somewhat technical spot where there was a handful of routes that you had to navigate through. And it was coming into the easier spot where it was a nice long straightaway, and I was heading back to the truck. Well, right as I turned, there was one route that I just did not notice, and it clipped the side of my foot, and there was no stopping me from just about face planting into the ground. I was half an inch from eating dirt. And oh, it was great though. I got up laughing because there was just nothing you could do but laugh at the situation. Headphones went flying off, covered in dirt and mud. I'm already sweating like crazy, so it just instantly turned to mud all over me, and had a good laugh about that, and then jogged my humble butt on back to the truck.
When you said headphones, the picture that you posted on social media had these like massive black,
Oh
heavily
yeah,
packed headphones. Is that what you ran in?
yeah, yep. That's what I always run in.
That's so funny. All
I,
right.
they work for me. I like them a lot.
Good.
I've
That's
always
awesome.
found I am a sweaty runner. I feel like a lot of people have that one friend who's just a sweaty guy. I'm that sweaty guy. And for me, like if I'm doing a workout and I've got earbuds like this, that sweat is just going to get in there and they're going to pop out. They've never worked for me when I'm working out. So I have to do something over the ears.
I I found that jaybirds work really well for me. They regardless of the time of year or the distance that I run, the jaybirds stay in my ear socket really, really well. The rubber material that's made out of the little that the earbud grips the skin in my ear canal really
Oh,
well.
okay.
I don't have any issues with them at all.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to look into those.
I
Because yeah,
I
that'd be nice.
I used to wear Bose headphones when I would do like static lifts. If I was going to go just do a deadlift day or something like that, I would wear Bose headphones. But anytime I'm doing dynamic movements, I can't wear the larger headphones. It drives me nuts. So kudos to you for for hammering down a 50K ultra with your 1980s headphones hanging around your noggin.
Yeah, I've been sporting those for a long time now. They've ran with me for every marathon and now this ultra marathon. So I'm making do with them okay.
Right on. So was there anybody at the finish line when you hit your mileage marker?
Absolutely nobody. I was limping my way back by the end. I think the last 3 miles I had to vary it from running to walking just because my by that point I was so dehydrated and had just sweat so much and did not have the fluids in me anymore. My both my quads and by the last mile, both of my calves were just completely locking up after around 20 to 30 seconds of running. So that was a long last few miles for me. But no, I looked down at my watch when it buzzed and said 33 miles. And I had it kind of timed up because I knew the routes and everything by that point, where I knew right there it was going to be about a 30-yard walk back to my truck. And it buzzed, said I was done. I said, okay, finished my workout on my watch and got in the truck and headed home.
Very cool.
No celebration, no finish line, no trophy or anything, no medal around my neck. It, for me, it was never about that anyway. So I just said, awesome, good job. What's next?
It so I am really enjoying this part of our podcast. I'm not a social runner. My wife is. That's how my wife and I met. I would prefer in my running, whether it's just pure conditioning or in preparation for an event. And during COVID, all the events were self-supported and remote. I absolutely loved it. My personal best distance of a 60K was performed alone in my little rural community that I lived in Southern Maryland. I ran a 60K by myself. My wife and dog were back at the house, and that was my seg location. My support location was the house.
Okay.
So every couple of laps, or every 10K, I would get to see my wife and dog for a brief moment while I fueled up or hit some water. But
Yeah.
I was all alone. And when I
Yeah.
finished that in the driveway, it was just Tara and Sig and I. It was absolutely incredible. I find great solace in running alone.
Hmm.
My wife loves running in the community. She loves running with a group. She loves big organized events. Uh, I was um, I was part of the Team Semper Fi running battalion for a couple of years, and I was a battalion leader one year. And it amazes me how many people are only able to train and execute a big distance if there is a known finish line with a medal. Even that 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 completion prize be what it is like the biggest thing for them.
Yeah.
They're completely overlooking the self accomplishment of what they've done, and the runner battalion was like a 10-month process. So what that entailed was the Semper Fi Fund would allocate so many bibs to the Marine Corps Marathon if you committed to the runner battalion and you had to complete it. It was a 10-month process. So you committed yourself to a 10-month training. It was a legitimate training plan. They had a professional coach. You had to follow his plan for each individual runner. And if you didn't, you would get dropped. But it was an all expense paid to the Marine Corps Marathon. So they would pay for your travel, they would pay for your lodging, and they paid for your race. But you committed 10 months of your life to it. There was no, oh, I'm having a bad week, I just don't want to do it. If you might get away with that one time. If you did it again, you were done. You were out of the battalion. You weren't going to the marathon.
Wow.
And the year of COVID, people were dropping like flies because it wasn't going to be the social aspect of
Mm.
typical year. Same with Boston Marathon. My second Boston Marathon that I qualified for ended up being COVID, and I ran Boston Marathon. I ran that distance on my own in my neighborhood, self-supported. And a lot of people quit because they weren't going to get that social aspect of it, and they weren't going to get a medal that just and
Yeah.
each to their own. But to me,
Yeah.
that's now I've got I've got a metal rack hanging someplace, and since Tara and I moved up here on the shore, neither one of us have put up our metal racks and displayed all of the running medals that we've obtained. But it's like it's interesting to me. That's not the driving force for why I do it. If that was
Yeah.
the only thing, I certainly wouldn't have experienced the pain of the actual Boston Marathon course two different times because it sucks. The
Yeah.
marathon itself is incredible. Boston, the city itself, is awesome, and the atmosphere during the Boston Marathon is, I mean, it's a lifetime experience. But that court, or not court, the course is crushing. It's painful.
Yeah.
And if the only thing that I was doing it for was a little piece of brown metal hanging around my neck, I don't know if I would have done it more than once, right? It's the experience, it's the sense of accomplishment, it's the process of getting there. It is enduring some of the pain. It is not, at least for me, it is not having that little medal placed over my head at all.
Yeah. And if that's your jam, go for it. I mean,
Absolutely.
I am not going to judge anybody who is all about that. As you can see behind me, I've got some wilderness trophies, and I love looking at them. I admire them all the time. But for each thing that is hanging here on my wall, I have at least a couple stories and a couple people that are very special to me that are associated with each and every one of these. And it's more about that than anything else. What these represent is a lot of memories and a lot of hard work that led up to obtaining these. It's not about them themselves. I don't know if any of these are what people would consider trophies as far as like a Pope and Young or a Boone and Crockett or anything like that. Um, Obviously, the Ducks aren't, but I've got a lot of whitetail as well that there's great memories associated with them. And I couldn't care less what they score because I had a great time with the folks that were involved with that hunt.
Yeah, it's everybody let's focus on running again. Everybody runs for a purpose.
Yeah.
Whatever your purpose is, I I'm gonna cheer you on. And that's one of the things that I tried to preach to people on my team in the battalion when they would start asking and start comparing times and asking what how other people what their pace was and this and that. And it's like, stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. This is your race. Don't worry about what
Yeah.
people think about it. Don't worry about what you think other people are thinking about your pace, because realistically, nobody's looking at your pace. They're too worried about their own pace. It's your run. Run your own race
Yeah.
and figure out the why behind running that race, and that why is the medal. Okay, then we've got to figure out a way to get you that medal, because that's,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, from that, not that I'm a running coach, but from being that battalion leader, it is, I found it more challenging to try to encourage somebody to follow through with the training, the 10-month training program, to get through the marathon itself to achieve that medal. That's a far more difficult person to encourage and motivate than somebody that's there to run for the experience. And they have a significant, when I say a significant purpose, they're running for a mother or a father or a sick child, or they're running for a personal best, or they're running for that individual sense of self accomplishment. That person is easy to motivate because that coal burner is already fired up and roaring inside their chest, right? Um,
Yeah.
and that was a challenge as well. But no matter what your basis or reasoning is, just make sure that you obtain that and you finish it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right
Finish what
on.
you start.
So you did almost an unplanned, unorganized, unsupported, um, undernourished, underhydrated 50K. Are you
Yep.
gonna are you gonna do another one?
Yeah. Right afterwards, I was like, well, that was great. I'm never doing that again. That's some of the most pain I've been in my whole life. And then a week out now, I just yesterday was looking at, okay, what ultras are coming up around my area this winter? What can I prepare for? and have something to look forward to after hunting season. So 100% yes, I'm going to do another one.
Right on.
I think I would like to experience a organized race rather than just going out and running on my own. I think I'll sign up for something like that. Just because I think it would be cool to have my wife, my son there and have them a little bit more involved if possible. Have them watch me a little bit. But at the same time, I love how personal it can be to just run on your own. So the training part of it definitely is going to be another part that I'm going to take a little bit more seriously this time, but enjoy the preparation leading up to it even more and kind of just cherish that as I go towards it. So yeah, I'll be looking for sometime in February or March to sign up for something. Just got to see what's out there.
Okay. Man, I'm excited to hear about it. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'll keep you up on it.
Please do. What shoes did you use?
I have Brooks Adrenaline 6,
Okay.
and I actually had to switch shoes because of just the amount of sweat and mud that had gotten into them. So halfway through the run, I switched shoes and actually changed my shirt and everything, kind of just reset while I was at the truck one time. And well, actually, I did that, changed my shirt twice, just because, like I said, I'm a sweaty dude. So I did that twice. But yeah, the shoes were really good for the trail that I was on. And I hadn't ran that trail before. I wasn't sure how they were going to do. There, it was very good for the shoes that I was wearing.
Awesome. All right. Excellent. Well, how do you think this translates into your hunting life?
Well, uh, the first lesson learned was preparation is everything. So what I learned from the race translates straight into if you're not getting ready, you're not going to be ready on game day. It's all about how you train yourself in the months leading up to it. So we've got some places less than a month until hunting season. Some places you've got around a month and a half. If you haven't picked up your bow and started shooting yet, you're already going to be behind the curve on that.
That's a fact. There's a, you know, people hear these once in a lifetime miracles or success stories about people just randomly accomplishing great feats. And those are called miracles for a reason because it's not the norm. We don't rise to the occasion. We fall back on our lowest level of training. That's
Yep.
the norm. So
Yep.
if you've never ran a half marathon before, if you just wake up one day and think, I'm just going to throw on these random shoes that I have in my closet, these gym trainers or whatever brand of exercise shoes you have, I'm going to go run a sub 2 hour marathon. The normal person doesn't do that. There's a
Yeah.
handful of people that have or can, right? But they're freaks of nature. They're not the
Yeah.
norm. Um, Guys that just go out and do these extraordinary out of the norm things. Most people train for it. They commit time and energy and focus in making sure that's accomplished. You don't pick up a rifle one day and just take a 1,200-yard shot and put it on the mark. It doesn't happen. You train for that. And I 100% agree that you have to put in the time and the dedication to ensure that on game day, when it's down to the last second, that you're going to be able to make it count.
Yeah. Definitely.
And
And
fitness is one of them.
yeah, for sure. That's what I was going to lead into. If you're not fit and you can't handle the elements or you can't handle the hike in or the climb up the tree, I mean, I've seen some guys who they won't do saddle hunting just simply because they're not in shape enough to climb a dang tree. It's like that might be a hint that you need to work on that.
Which is amazing to me because I'm a firm believer, and I preach this at every expo that I go to with Latitude Outdoors. If you can climb a ladder to a lander stand or a lock on, you can hunt out of a saddle.
Yeah.
It's a process. It takes the same level of physical fitness to climb a ladder stand or the preset sticks for a lock on. It takes the same level of fitness
Hmm.
to climb a tree with multi sticks. Truly, it's you just have to learn the process. And for people to tell me I can't, yeah, it's like I can't saddle hunt. I can only hunt out of my ladder stand. I'm like, well, you're climbing 15 feet up in a tree on a ladder. It's stationary sticks. There's no difference. It's not whether you can't, it's the want. You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's and that's really what it boils down to.
And a lot of that is just mental as well. A lot of
Absolutely.
people don't want to attempt to do something new. A lot of people are just happy with what they have going. They don't want to try to challenge themselves to do something else because they're afraid that they might fail that. And if you just go push yourself a little bit more, you'd be amazed at what you could actually accomplish and what you could actually get into.
Yeah. And I'm not, there's a lot of guys out there that they don't exercise. They they eat fast food, they eat very high caloric, high sodium, unhealthy meals on a regular basis, a lot of cream canned meals. They drink a lot of beer,
Hmm.
a lot of whiskey, they might smoke, and they go out every year and they enjoy deer camp and they harvest animals. And that's awesome. If that's your hunting world, I fully support what you're doing. I'm glad that you're doing it. Keep doing it. Keep buying tags, keep buying that hunting license, keep buying those tags, and continue on your path as an outdoorsman. But I'm a firm believer in the fact that when you start pushing the envelope, wherever that envelope might be, um, when you start hitting pain levels, those experiences impact your overall success because you stop focusing on your surrounding and the mission at hand, and you start focusing on the pain and the discomfort, and it's distracting, and you start making mistakes,
Yeah.
and the animal wins. And that's,
Hmm.
to me, that's another big key factor is when you're training your body and you're training your mind, you have a greater opportunity for success because you're more aware of what's going on around you rather than the pain and the discomfort that you're experiencing.
Yeah. Allows you to focus on everything that needs to be focused on, not, oh, I'm tired, I'm sweaty,
I'm
I hurt.
sore, my pack
Yeah.
hurts. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Right on. So where's your first hunting adventure for the big game season of 2024 and 25?
So I will be going out to Colorado on August 24th for pronghorn. That'll be my first trip out west for any animal. I've went north up into Canada. I've went south down into Florida for hunting. This will be the first time venturing out west, so I'm really excited for that.
Okay. Are you guys what's your lodging plan? Are you camping it, Airbnb, hotel, lodge?
It's we're going to be actually bunking with the owner of the ranch. He's got a nice big place, so it's going to be pretty comfortable living for us. And then, depending on how the next couple weeks go with weather wise, we might be just hunting over watering holes. If we have to adjust, we will be doing spot and stalk after that. So we're just kind of preparing for exactly what kind of hunt we're going to be getting into. Obviously, I'm preparing for the worst case scenario, which would be spot and stalk from a mile away. But that's kind of the game plan, is just be ready for either one of those scenarios.
Okay. And it's archery.
Correct. Archery. Yeah.
What's your archery setup this year?
So I have the Hoyt Alpha X 33 in the Origin Raptor camo. I'm using, I haven't decided on my broadheads yet, so I'll leave that up for discussion later with you. But my arrows are the Easton Axis 4 mils. I'm running those. My overall weight setup for the arrows is going to be right around 440 grains. So I'll use that for the pronghorn and whitetail this season.
Okay. What rest?
Oh, Hamsky Epsilon. I
Okay.
like the limb driven. It's a good, strong design. And then HHA Tetra Rise X3. I just finished getting that all dialed in with my arrows. So once I decide on the broadhead, then we're going to have to play around with that a little bit. But for right now, really enjoying that rise. I've been shooting HHA since really I found out about them, and they've always done well for me. So
It's a
shout
yeah.
out to Chris Ham for a good product every year.
I love me some ham. Did you did you shoot their single pin at all?
No, I had so before I shot HHA, I shot Spot Hog, and that was a 2 pin. That was their Fast Eddie. And then
You
once
do,
the
you do know that Chris Ham is a closet spot hog promoter, right? I mean, he's diehard spot hog. He just hasn't come out of the closet yet.
I'll have to ask him about that one. I'm going to need to fact check that. But no, I haven't used their single pins. I've only used the Tetra Rise. That's the only one I've used since I started going with HHA, which hasn't been all that long, but I haven't been hunting all that long, really. So,
But so were you using the Tetra Rise single pin, or is your first experience with
well,
HHA?
it was the Rise was the
It's a single pin
one post with
with
2 pins in it. Yeah.
two fiber optics. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still a single pin. Okay, how do you like the X3 compared to the single post Rise?
I'm still getting used to having the pins coming in from the right hand side rather than up from the center post
Okay.
from the bottom. That sight picture change really messed with me the first couple of times I've shot it, but I think I'm getting more used to it now that I've shot it around I don't know, probably a dozen times or so, just getting my arrows dialed in with it and everything. I'm getting more and more used to it. I was out yesterday shooting around 80, 90 yards, getting my last couple in for the day, and I was shooting them well. I'm still not shooting as well as I was with the single pin, but I think I will be getting there, and I think it's going to work out really well for me this year.
I love the Rise. I've had multiple conversations with Chris about the X3, and I've been tempted to play with a little bit, but having left that the multi-pin bow sight behind me, and I had always shot a 5 pin.
Okay.
Once you clear that the scope on your bow sight of all that clutter, and you're using that single post coming from the bottom, that your whole sight picture changes. And I don't
Yeah.
I like the idea of having those three known yardage pins. And for me, it would probably be 30, 40, and 50, and then having the floating pin.
Hmm.
Um, and I say that because with my bow setup, so I'm shooting the Alpha X33 as well, and I have my arrow setup is 425 grains with
Okay.
a and I'm shooting right at 280 feet per second. And from 30 yards and less, I can just hold. If they're close in, I hold the top of my pin where I need to. If they're further out, I hold the top of pin where I need to, and I don't have to adjust. And then you also have both of those fiber optics there, so you know what your range difference is, right?
Yeah, you can Kentucky windage it a little bit easier with
Yeah,
that. It's really
it
nice.
it is. And then I have the feasibility of the 30, 40, 50, and then the floater. And I've thought about, especially spot and stock scenarios, that's just so efficient. You don't have to worry about ranging and
Yeah.
adjusting. But I'm very skeptical about going back to that cluttered sight picture.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm still in the process of getting used to. I'm comfortable with it now, but it's not nearly the same as having that one single post for sure.
Right on. Is there any other gear that you want to chat about?
Uh, well, we could get started into Latitude Outdoors and getting into their saddles because I've got a lot of questions for you. But I think that might be another hour-long conversation. I'm not sure if we're going to have the time for that today.
Yeah, and actually, let's table that because we've been at it for an hour.
Okay.
Well, we've been recording for an hour. Our pre-recording session was probably a solid 30 minutes in itself.
Yeah,
I'm sure we're going to have some back chatter once I stop this recording. If you want to meet up again here in the very near future and talk about some saddle stuff, man, I'm all in. Let's do it. And
absolutely.
maybe we try to do it here within the next couple of weeks and get that content out for folks. We're probably a little late in the game for doing that. We should have thought about that a month ago, but I will tell you this: by the time this episode publishes, I will have their new Maverick in hand, and I will have already had it in a tree testing it. It arrives tomorrow.
Awesome.
As we're recording today, the Maverick saddle will arrive to me tomorrow. I'm really excited about it.
Sweet. Well, yeah, we'll have to get on and talk about that and your experience with it.
It will be the first single panel that I've owned. It won't be the first single panel that I've tried, that I've been,
Okay.
but it will be the first single panel that I've personally owned, and it's going to be the saddle that I put into my backcountry tree saddle rig for this season, and it's going to drop my backcountry saddle rig down to 7 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep, it is a killing kit, man, for sure. I have my killing kit, and then I have my kill kit. They're two different things. The killing kit is my saddle kit that's going to put the animal on the ground, give me that capability, and then my killing kit, um, or my kill kit is everything that I need to take care of what my killing kit produced.
Break it down and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right on. Well, hey, um, before we close this out, tell everybody, if you wish, where they can find you, contact you, any details about the store, anything like that.
Yeah, so stores, Fin Feather for Outfitters, if you're anywhere in Ohio or the bordering states, hopefully you've already heard of us. But if not, we are one of the premier outdoor stores in Ohio and the Midwest as well. So Fin Feather for Outfitters.com. You could check out all of our stuff there, or if you're in the area, stop into one of our stores. We're all across northern Ohio. So any of your major cities, if you're around there, stop on in, come find us.
What
I'm
about,
specifically at the Canton store if you want to see me.
and how about your YouTube channel?
So that, yeah, so that is going to be still a work in progress, I would say, but it's tagged out media and just working on getting some fun content together for preparing for hunting season as well as gear reviews. I've done a handful of stuff for Vortex Optics and the Hoyt bow that I'm shooting now. So just working on doing some of that, trying to get more information about what you can use, the capabilities of it, and how you can prepare yourself to be the best part of that whole machine, the killing machine.
Right on. All right. Do you have anything else?
No, man, I think we covered it all.
All right. Well, as for the listeners, you are listening to the Limitless podcast, and you can find the Limitless podcast on all of your major podcast platforms, for the audio versions. On YouTube, at Limitless Outdoors, there is the Limitless podcast channel there, and you can see all of the live, well, not live, but all the video versions of every podcast, whether it was recorded here in my office or on a remote location somewhere. And Facebook, Instagram, Limitless Outdoors, and look forward to hearing your reviews and looking for some of your ratings. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, please, and take advantage of those discount codes that I talked about, probably at too great of length in the beginning of this episode. But Jerrod, thanks for your time today, man. Really enjoyed the conversation and looking forward to hearing more about your running adventures, your next ultra experience, and some of your tags that you're going to fill this year, man. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it. It's great talking with you.
Absolutely. Be limitless, man.